welcome back everyone to the video series Dickie Show on Paramount Plus, where the gameplay is getting a little pear-shaped. That's right, we're talking about the Challenge World Championship Episode 9. We are 9 episodes into this season. At the end of this episode, we are down to only 6 teams. I would classify this episode as being very mild, especially compared to last week, and I think it has something to do with how this episode begins, where we're at the bar scene, where we see a conversation between Danny and Tori. They talk about their team dynamic and how they have struggled to be a solid unit together, that they have been kind of having this friction between each other, and the game is getting to the point where they need to get on the same page, because the only way that they would be able to, 1, make it to the finals, and 2, have a chance within those finals is if they are seeing eye to eye with each other and have that teamwork with each other. And Tori did say, like, we haven't really spoke much during this game or within this game, and so I guess it's better late than never, because as we move forward through this episode, it does seem to get a little bit easier for Tori and Danny. Now, it's great that Tori and Danny are feeling maybe a little bit more at ease with their situation in the house within the game with each other. However, when we get back to the challenge house, we hear from Tristan, who is not very confident about where he and Kellyanne stand in this game after what happened last week with Amber, Jody, and Benha all leaving the game, kind of leaving his numbers in just shambles. We see Tristan and Kaz talking with each other, and they want to have each other's back. This is Tristan really trying to solidify that, hey, we can be a number for each other moving forward in this game, and Kaz feels very strongly on wanting Tristan to be here, that she never has any intention to saying his name at all, which in editing terms for the challenge should set off a big old red alarm for everybody watching. They agree that if it ever came down to them having to say each other's name, that let's just have a conversation beforehand. Let each other know that we can get mentally prepared, you know? They both agree, and then we move on to a conversation between Kiki and Kellyanne, where we hear that they have a really strong connection with each other, that throughout the time there that they've built up this bond, which we really haven't seen up to this point. Kiki is just a real big badass, you know? Like, Kiki, we saw from her Challenge Australia season that she was a strong competitor. And then she comes into this game and she is taking out Claudia. She is not afraid to go into eliminations. She's doing well in daily challenges. And then hearing all she's gone through personally, and then how the Challenge Australia winning that season has helped kind of show her and like confirm to herself how strong of a person she is. I love seeing her compete in the Challenge Australia and then getting to know her through this season. And Kiki has just like skyrocketed as one of my favorite competitors, not only on this season, but in the challenge in general. Everybody dons up their challenge gear to meet up with TJ for this week's movie promoted daily challenge. Is called Highway Hijacking, brought to us by Transformers Rise of the Animal Bots, coming out June whatever. I'm not promoted by Transformers at all, so I'm not going to give too many details about this Transformers movie. But anyways, what's going to happen in this daily challenge is one partner is going to start off on one semi, then have to jump onto the top of another semi, grab a key, jump back onto the original semi, and then open up a glass box and press a button. That will signify to their partner who is inside the original truck to then press the gas pedal, burst out of the back of the one semi, and then drive past a finish line. The team that can do this the quickest will win into power, win into safety, while the team that does this the slowest will be going directly into elimination. Now, aesthetically, this daily challenge was awesome. I don't think we've ever seen a daily challenge like this, at least the second half of it, where somebody is in a vehicle within another moving vehicle and then having to explode out the back and then race their way to a finish line. Honestly, I think it was really cool. Now, the first part of this daily challenge was a little lackluster. I mean, granted, you're jumping from one semi to another, but just grabbing a key that's just kind of in the middle of the truck's roof and then jumping back to just press a button. At least you have two partners doing something and they're conjoined in what they're doing, that one part helps the other person out. I just thought that one part was extremely cool and the other part was Hey, in the first heat, we have Theo and Sarah who do an extremely solid job. However, in heat 2, we have Emily and Yes, and Yes hits the button, Emily hits the gas pedal, and doesn't let up, and she is just going directly through that finish line. However, when she turns it while it's still going extremely fast, and she flips a ton of times. It is very scary. She starts to cry. I think it's more of the shock than anything else. She is able to walk out of there, and she doesn't seem to have any problems. She doesn't have like a hurt neck. She didn't tweak anything. At least we don't see that in the edit. And then in heat 3, we have Kelly and Tristan who do a good job. Darrell and Kiki do a good job. It seemed like Darrell was a little slow, kind of like putting his foot on the gas. I think he saw what happened with Emily and Yes and didn't want to put himself in danger of going too quickly. However, that was not the case for Jordan and Kaz, where Kaz just put the pedal to the metal and didn't let up. They did a great job. Then you have Tori and Casey who did a good job, and then Danny and Tori who did a good job. Tori also flipped, but she only just flipped onto her side. Now we get to the results. And it comes down to two teams of Jordan and Kaz and Theo and Sarah. However, it was Jordan and Kaz who were able to get this win, get into power. And then you have Darrell and Kiki who got last place. They just weren't quick enough. Everybody was able to complete this daily challenge, which is awesome. But Darrell and Kiki were just slower than everybody else. So they're going directly into the elimination and coming back to the challenge house. This is where Kellyanne's mind is kind of flowing with ideas. And she really wants to break up the US duo of Danny and Tori and Theo and Sarah. The problem is that both those duos are so connected in the house that one person is cool with saying one person's name, but the other team isn't cool with saying another person's name. Kellyanne is pushing for a move to be made. I think she's also really worried about her spot in the game, her and Tristan's spot in the game, that she gets a little pushy. At least that's what Tristan feels. It does come off a little bit like that, but she's not coming off well to like say Yes, Emily, and Casey. So it's not a good sign for Kellyanne and Tristan. I commend them for really trying to make a move to try to keep themselves safe. It just felt like Kellyanne was coming off more like Vic Vinegar than Hugh Honey. So when it comes down to it, a lot of people are kind of side-eyeing Kellyanne and Tristan. Then we move on to Jordan, talking with Sarah, Danny, and Tori. And here we have Jordan actually being the moderator, and it helps when you're coming from a position of power. So the leverage that Jordan has is that Emily and Yes are on the tip of a lot of people's tongues. And because he's in power, if Emily and Yes are nominated, he would love to say their names and send them into elimination against Darrell and Kiki. But if they can come up with a contract, which they sign on the whiteboard, that they are willing to go with Kellyanne and Tristan this week to send them into elimination, but next week, no matter who wins, they have to send Emily and Yes into elimination. Now, Danny and Tori seem to be really cool with this, as well as Sarah. They all signed the whiteboard, but Sarah is thinking, well, this is good for this week because then that saves Emily and Yes from going into elimination. But this kind of puts us into a bit of a pickle next week, only if Emily and Yes do not win into power next week. When we go to the voting ceremony, this is the smoothest voting ceremony we've had in quite a while. I mean, I think since the first two voting ceremonies when everybody was cool with voting in Jody and Benha and Kellyanne and Tristan, now it's just voting in Kellyanne and Tristan, and then everybody saying Danny and Tori, knowing full well that Jordan and Kaz, or at least Jordan, would never say Tori's name and send her directly into elimination. So that's exactly what happens. Everybody pretty much votes for Kellyanne and Tristan and Danny and Tori. Even Danny and Tori vote for Kellyanne and Tristan and Danny and Tori. Kaz is like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to send in Tristan. After we had that conversation of never wanting to say each other's names, and now I'm going to have to like say his name. So she tries her best to try to convince Jordan that, hey, Kellyanne and Tristan aren't that great of a duo. They'd be easier to run in the finals against. But Jordan seems to be stonewalling Kaz. We're gonna say Kellyanne and Tristan, and we'll send them in against Darrell and Kiki. Kaz is feeling all the emotions. We even hear that it's Tristan's birthday. It's Tristan's birthday at the time of filming this, and Kellyanne and Tristan are now not only preparing themselves to possibly go into elimination on Tristan's birthday. But then it is Kaz who is going to announce that she is sending in Tristan after not having a conversation. After that conversation that they had with each other, saying that, hey, if we had to say each other's name, let's just give each other a heads up. And after agreeing to that, didn't talk to him prior to then having to make the speech. Jordan wasn't going to take this one. Jordan wasn't like, look, I know it's your friend. I know he's your friend. I'll take the brunt of it. And no. Kaz is the one that has to say it. Kaz is the one that has to announce Tristan and Kellyanne and then to apologize, but never have that conversation. It's just not Kellyanne and Tristan's season. I mean, after John A. was telling Kellyanne that, hey, you're safe, I'm not going to send you in, and then send Kellyanne and Tristan in, and now it's Tristan's friend not having a conversation. I guess not having the conversation is better than having the conversation and feeling guaranteed you're not going in and then being sent in, but it's still a huge blindside, and Tristan is not feeling good about this. His birthday gift is going into elimination against Darrell and Kiki in this week's elimination called Hands Off, where both teams have one chopstick each, and they're going to have to transfer 9 puzzle pieces over to the puzzle station after doing a small obstacle course, and then they have to put the puzzle together. The first team to put their puzzle together wins, gets to stay in this game, while the other team is eliminated. At first, Kellyanne and Tristan get off to a hot start. They are moving these puzzle pieces. However, just like in sports, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And as the elimination was moving forward, it just seemed like Kellyanne and Tristan were kind of like losing that communication with each other. They were losing that rhythm with each other as every piece that Darrell and Kiki were moving, that even though it was difficult in the beginning, they were slowly getting into the rhythm of it. And once they got all 9 of their puzzle pieces transferred over to the puzzle station, and Kellyanne and Tristan still had like 1 or 2 pieces that they were behind Darrell and Kiki, I was thinking, oh, this is over. Darrell has all the pieces. Him and Kiki are going to be able to put this puzzle together rather quickly. Now, I will say that it was pretty close, that both teams were working on their puzzle, but that extra lead-in time with Darrell and Kiki getting all their puzzle pieces first just sealed the win up for them. They did an incredible job. Kiki is still undefeated in eliminations on the challenge. I really enjoyed this elimination, and I would love to see this elimination on a main season of the challenge. Sad to see Kellyanne and Tristan go. They had an incredible run this past season after being sent into the first elimination outside of the MVP only elimination. But being sent into the first elimination is normally like a death sentence. You're just going in over and over and over again. But they were able to win 2 dailies, even when Tristan was very, very sick. I'm very proud of both Tristan and Kellyanne. After not having a good start to the season, they made it extremely far, making it into the top 7 teams and almost making it into the top 6 teams. I really, really enjoyed both of them on the season. Kellyanne made this season really, really fun. Tristan kind of came into his own after not being heavily featured in the Challenge UK season, but it's sad to see them both go. I'm happy that Darrell and Kiki were able to win. I love their dynamic. I want to see them make it far. I want to see them make it into the finals. So it was really a lose-lose situation for me because I didn't want to see either of these teams go, but I'm very, very proud of both of them, especially Darrell and Kiki, who are getting back into this game. And now we're down to the top 6, the sensational 6. And I don't know what could happen in the upcoming episodes. I don't know how many teams are going to make it into the finals, when the finals are going to happen. All I know is that these last 6 teams, there is no room for error. We have no layup teams to send into elimination. There's no Jody and Benha. There's no Kelly and Tristan, the default teams. Everybody who is left in this game is, one, a very stacked team, a very strong team to make it this far, but also all these teams are connected to each other. And so there is no sitting on the fence from here on out. Losing is going to be so detrimental this far into the game. And then if you don't win, your butt's in the hot seat. You know, there's only a handful of teams, less than a handful of teams that are going to be voting each week from here on out. And just the slight bird vote, the slight whatever vote could be the vote that sends you directly into an elimination against a very strong team. So this is going to get very interesting, hopefully, in the upcoming episodes, especially heading into episode 10 next week. But that is it for this week's episode. As I said, it was a pretty straightforward episode, not too much drama this past week. I think now that we have Tori and Danny kind of getting on the same page and having that conversation with each other, that it just made everything super smooth this past week. So what did you think about this episode? Let me know down in the comment section below. What did you think about the daily challenge? What did you think about the elimination? And are you upset that Kelly and Tristan have been eliminated from the season? Let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below. I want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who is watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more Challenge World Championship content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.